What's going on, Lakeway family? It's been a while since I came to you in this format. You can see that I'm in a different setting. I am up here at the church in my office. I've got all these books behind me just to make me look intelligent. I haven't read any of them. Part of the reason why I wanted to wait for this very special Lakeway Daily 40 is because 40, the number in the Bible, means a whole lot of different things. It's really pregnant with a lot of symbolism. The number 40 represents a completion of a season. So the flood lasted for 40 days and for 40 nights. The Israelites wandered in the desert for 40 years. Jesus goes out into the wilderness to fast and to pray for 40 days. And now as we begin to end this season of lockdown, of not being able to worship in person, I am here today super excited to tell you our official, hopeful starting date for in-person worship for Lakeway. Drum roll, please. June 25th, just a couple of weeks away, we are going to be back in person for Lakeway at 7 o'clock on Thursday nights. Now, it's going to be Lakeway, but it's going to be a little bit different. I want to walk you through a couple of those differences. The first biggest difference is that we're going to be in a different space. We're not going to be in the youth room, which is where we usually worship. We're actually going to be in the big sanctuary. So I know some of you have probably never stepped foot in the sanctuary, but it's a beautiful space. It's a much bigger space, which is why we made the decision to move Lakeway there. If you were coming to Lakeway in January and February, you know that when we get 125, 150 people in that space, we're kind of packed in like sardines. Doesn't exactly allow for social distancing. And so we're going to be in the sanctuary. We're going to be spread out. It's going to feel a little bit cavernous early on, but it's a beautiful space and it's still going to be Lakeway. It's going to be great. Another big difference you're going to notice is that we're not going to celebrate Holy Communion for probably a few weeks, maybe a month. We're going to be looking at best practices for other churches and how they institute the sacrament in this new age of being careful and sanitizing everything. And we just want to make sure we have a really safe and effective way of administering the sacraments before we actually celebrate it. And as I mentioned, we're going to be socially distanced. So we're going to have every other pew marked off. We're going to ask family units to sit 6 feet apart. It's going to be different, but it's going to be Lakeway. We're going to be in person. We're going to be in God's house. We're going to be in community with one another. It's going to be awesome. I'm seriously super excited. I'm sick of talking just to cameras. Now, I am a preacher, so I always have application points. What does this mean for you? 3 things. Number 1. I want you to start a conversation in your household, and that could just be you, about whether or not you will return to worship with us on June 25th. If you're uncomfortable coming out, if you're in an immunocompromised demographic, or if you just kind of want to wait and see how things go, please stay home. We're still going to be live streaming those services from the sanctuary, which we're actually starting this week, so you get kind of a feel of what it's going to look like. So you can still worship with us from home. If you are uncomfortable in any way coming, please stay home. We've learned that the church can be anywhere, and so you've been doing that the past few months. Keep doing that if that's what's most comfortable for you and your family. The second thing is this. We're going to need volunteers like never before. We're going to need not just greeters and welcomers, but we're going to need folks that can help with the sanitization process so that we can be good stewards of the space and make sure that when we enter and when we exit, all the surfaces have been cleaned and it's ready to go for the next group. Be on the lookout for an email from Austin here in the next few days and definitely next week about ways that you can get involved. I'll be sending out a Lakeway newsletter here probably next week that'll give you a link to sign up to volunteer. We're going to need all hands on deck because it's a new space, it's new procedures, it's a new way of doing church. So if you are comfortable coming and you want to take it a step further, we would love it if you would volunteer with us. And lastly, and probably most important, begin praying. Begin praying for the leadership of our church. Begin praying for the folks that will come back. Begin praying for the folks that will stay at home. Just cover this entire process with prayer. And I promise up until this point, it has been covered in prayer as we've listened for the Spirit, listen for the Spirit, not just in the government officials and our church leaders, but we've listened for God's leading in us. And we do feel like this is the best move for our church. As I mentioned, this week we will be live streaming 7 o'clock on YouTube from the sanctuary. I'm going to be starting a 3-week series called Rebuilding. I said this at the very start of quarantine that when we come back, it's going to be functionally relaunching and restarting what we know as Lakeway. So I'm going to set the foundation for that this week. We're going to be looking over these 3 weeks at the books of Ezra and Nehemiah as the exiles returned back to Jerusalem and began rebuilding their lives, rebuilding their worship rituals, and as we'll see this Thursday, rebuilding the temple. The parallels are endless. I'm really excited for this series, so we hope you will join us. The next 2 weeks, we will be live streaming from the sanctuary, and then June 25th, in-person worship. I cannot wait to see y'all. Stay safe. God bless.